How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today it's more of a chilled video again. Just messing around really with the loaves, the P16, twin steer, a couple of bits and bobs, nothing too serious or anything. A bit of gameplay. I attempted this cabin fever mission, but by the time I got the box there, it just wouldn't accept it for some reason. I'll get into that later, but that's what I'm currently setting off to do. And yeah, like I say, it's a bit more of a chilled video. Might tell you another story I've been up to or something. As for, yeah, basically I'm going to go and do this cabin fever, or attempt to start it. Obviously taking the P16, I fancied giving it a go in the snow, because it's a lot better than you would think, basically, for just a rear-wheel drive thing. Yeah. So run away, got the loaf. See? She's earning them dollars. Got a pretty nice rack as well, if I do say so myself. Of course I'm going to be hitting the P16 horn. That will just happen intermittently, as and when it tickles my fancy. See, going through the snow, it's like a lot better than you think, just because it's like really heavy, so it doesn't, it's pretty rare it loses grip, like for a rear wheel drive, because it's got like pretty massive tyres and the dual rears. As much as it'd be quite cool if you could have single rears, there'd be situations where I'd like to try single rears, but sounds like a bloody dodgy dating website. Yeah, but it does grip pretty well as is, and yeah, it's a lot better through the snow than you think, because it's not that fast anyway. Like, as a lot of you have noticed on this map, there's certain parts of the snow are like really, really slow. And I've not tried this through loads of bits of snow, so I'm not saying it'll just drive through them as normal. But I've definitely been through some fairly deep bits of snow tonight, and it motors along, pretty much just put it in high-low, and it kind of goes along at this speed whether you're driving along, yeah, like practically no snow, to getting pretty deep. Definitely areas where I was just cutting large sections of like a corner out. Does suffer a bit bouncing over these rocks. To be honest, most things do really, because as soon as the rock kind of lifts like one side of your wheels or something off the floor, unless you've got really nice spongy suspension that does soak it up well, but once it's taken the suspension and it lifts your truck up, it's yeah, can catch you out pretty easy then. See, along the ice as well, because these are off-road tyres, like, I'm going along nicely at the minute, I can actually move, but when you actually stop with this P16 and then you try to set off, sometimes on this like pure blue ice, it will just wheel spin. And the best thing I found was just, if you're going to go forward, preferably low works pretty well for this, but just squeeze like the accelerator trigger as gently as you can, and it's like, rather than wheel spinning, it just finds that point where it's, yeah, it just sets off without even wheel spinning. So got it, this is where I dropped it off with the, I think I left it out of yesterday's video, but I was flying around with the twin steer, drifting it around and all sorts. So yeah, came to grab it again. I still definitely like that they're on skis and you can actually just tow it. It's pretty cool. It kind of opens the way for, really, I think they should add some kind of trailer or something that you can, yeah, like this. Imagine this, but say with no roof on it, and you could put cargo on it. I mean, probably like half the height, doesn't need to have walls that high, but yeah, it'd be pretty cool. Like, even if it's not necessarily the smartest option, that doesn't really bother me. It'd still be pretty funny to go flying around sledging cargo or other things. Obviously, before long, I'm not even going to make it halfway to this mission before I do get rather distracted. You can see though, the loaf hangs on like a beauty on this. That's one, like, I've had this set up before, and yeah. See, again, I wouldn't have thought that, when I dropped in there, I was like, oh no, because yeah, that's basically half my drivable wheels at the rear that just fell in, and it still drove out even though it hasn't got the front being powered. To be honest, I certainly wouldn't say no if they decided to add all-wheel drive for this thing as well. But then again, particularly that they haven't added any special trailers on this map, then there isn't as much use for stuff like this. Somebody was saying, and I certainly don't know if this is certain or not, but there might be, like, on some of the new maps that are coming soon, like a big trailer, a bit like one of the special trailers from, like, the original missions. Like one of the sort of oil type trailers, but with all that stuff off. And basically what I believe they were trying to, like, what they're saying that they've found is like a massive trailer, a bit like the special objective trailer, but it's obviously not got anything in it. So it might just be a trailer for stuff like this, which would make a lot of sense, because there is a fair few vehicles that are pretty expensive as well that you can only have a saddle high on, and it's like the gooseneck. Personally, unless they've fixed it since, but it wouldn't surprise me if they haven't. But the goosenecks seem to detach themselves too easily off trucks. And yeah, there's not really. It'd be nice if there was like a saddle high version of a semi-trailer, especially because the semi-trailers at the minute are pretty low slung. They're more like highway trailers, and you're trying to drag them off road, which I know is part of the challenge, and I'm not complaining at that. Like, I do quite like the semi-trailers, to be honest. But the trailer I've used the most now, anyway, especially since they seem to have broken the ramped flatbed. But yeah, it'd be pretty cool if they added, like, essentially a saddle-high semi-trailer. As you can see, yeah, it didn't take me long. Got Bruce, stuck a loaf on top of that. I wanted to see how well it stayed on. I wasn't sure. I was trying to keep the winch length fairly long, because what I wanted to, or what I was seeing, is if you know how the physics like locks things in place, which will become a bit of a pain later on, because I try seesaw a few more things into the air. Not for long, but I'll give it a go. I'll explain why. Yeah, the loaf actually sat on pretty well, but it didn't freeze the physics to where, like, I was doubtful, but you know, I figured I'd try. It might kind of lock it into place on there, but at the minute it's just got its handbrake on, and it's doing pretty well. But obviously we're only going along flat ice at the minute. Start getting to some of the rough stuff. It was hanging on, hanging on for a bit. I probably could have done with something like the twin steer, get flying a bit faster. But in the end it went, but you see, this goddamn horse of a vehicle threw some ice out the way and got itself back on its wheels. What a goddamn professional. So I started bringing some other loaves, because I had some other things I wanted to try with a twin steer. Yeah, oh shit. Hard starboard immediately. See, going through here, this is just not just the loafs, but like the concept of why it's not a bad idea to travel in pairs. Yeah, the loaf wheels drop through the ice. I'd already, as you can see, drove around here a lot. The loaf does fall through sometimes, but I believe I had already weakened this bit as well. Yeah, on my own it would have been definitely iffy. Like, I have got the loaf out before from dropping through the ice, but I'd say not a lot. Like, generally, yeah, it's better to have like two here, but because that thing was winched to me, and it's just like hold the winch down and it drives at me, yeah. And I've shown you this before when I was doing it on the Rift map. Two of these together is a ridiculously good. For some reason, it's like a lot better than you think. You'll climb up a lot of stuff you would assume a loaf has no business doing, but it's goddamn professional. Yeah, I brought the other one. That's why I stayed a bit further to the right. Didn't need to test that out twice. So yeah, got the gang. There's OG Loaf sat on his little P16 throne. Look at him, like a goddamn professional, like Lord of the Flies or something. I mean, that's an image anyone would be happy to see. 6 loafs, a P16, a Bruce, and a twin stair. What I wanted to do is, one, kind of see how many loafs I could fit on the twin stair. But I was wondering about the weight characteristics, as in like how much weight the twin stair can handle. The loafs, they're not particularly heavy, not in terms of like relatively speaking to all the other vehicles. They're heavier than cargo though. But that's kind of what I was testing out. Also, kind of later on with the yeah, testing like the physics of cargo, cargo flying through the air, to be specific. I mean, they're doing pretty well. This loaf, it's a bit risky on the front, but we got them on there. And then yeah, I'm going to be towing this sledge, whatever it is. Well, I suppose it's not even. It's like a cabin. To be honest, it's been a sledge to me. It's yeah, not really had much cabin use for it. This is what I just wanted to leave in quickly. This is where, like, when you try and set off, you basically wheel spinning, but then I put it in low, and I'm trying to squeeze the trigger as little as possible, to where, as you see, once it pulled off, it didn't even, like, I must have been so low on the accelerator that it was below, say, like, where the friction values let go, and it just, yeah, I beat it. I mean, yeah, tried to set off, white loaf, taps out immediately, like paranormal activity again, starts getting pulled over. I mean, what a goddamn horse of a vehicle. Admit it. you thought it was a goner. But it knows what it's doing. So, yeah. Gonna winch up to this, take them all, so place your bets. Who do you think's gonna be the last loaf standing? I mean, out of everyone, I don't know, it's looking pretty sketchy for the red one. Not looking good for the one in front, Coca Loaf. I mean, look at him. He did look like he was smuggling some type of parcel. And he's definitely on something. I mean, a little speed wobble there from the red one, but he's going good. Already half deleted the twin stair, suspension gone, got a wheel blown. I've noticed it's not like this has just been recent, although they might have possibly upped it a little bit, but when you burst a tyre now, it almost like it locks up. It doesn't completely lock up, but basically for like the first month of the game, even when you burst a tyre, it's like, it doesn't really matter, it just kind of carried on rolling, didn't really make much difference. Now they definitely, like, I've been flying up and down here quite a bit in the twin stair, and once you've got like 2 or 3 tyres burst, or 4 or 5, etc., it slows you down a hell of a lot. Yeah, red loaf, he's bailed, took some more damage. Coca loaf, he's gone. We whack him with a sledge, try and save him. To be honest, when I went back to it, it like landed on its side, but because the physics locked there, I genuinely think if they didn't lock then, it would have got back to its wheels. But that's one of the things I was kind of testing later. Like, I know most of my videos are, like, I am usually doing something generally stupid and pointless, but at the same time there is usually some reason why I've thought of it in the first place, to like test the physics or the trucks, etc. And I was testing the physics of like vehicles versus cargo, basically. I mean, the yellow one fell first. It was close. It was neck and neck, but I think the blue loaf won it. The red loaf is a professional. He landed on his wheels. So, see what I mean though, how easy they are to flip like that. It's convenient. They don't flip that often. Obviously, when you're falling off the side of a twin stair and that, yeah, it's going to happen. But they're just easy. It doesn't, even if I was like practically upside down on a cliff, I'd just be able to pull it up. You see me pull it up that vertical like cliff that's about 10 or 15 times taller than the loaf, and it pulled it vertically up there. So yeah, that definitely helps. Like, if you've got something else as a winch vehicle, that's just why I use it anyway. So I was flying back with the twin stair. I thought, no, I wasn't going to, but then it's like, you're getting it, loaf. You bailed out early. I mean, it took 34 damage. That's not too bad. Stayed on its wheels. It did a good job. But then when I went to go and change vehicle, it didn't take 34 damage. Look at it. It's a brand newie. It's one owner from new. It was the twin steer that took 34 damage, daring to hit my loaf. You goddamn right, loaf. I mean, what a professional. And we're off. The fun never stops when you got yourself a load of loafs. I was like, yes, make the gap, make the gap. And then I just splatted on the side of a Bruce, but I tried. It went well for a second. Yeah, so now basically this is a bit more with the P16. I'm slowly getting closer to where I'm supposed to deliver this thing. Over the next few minutes, just like a bit of gameplay with the P16. You'll see it go through the mud, the snow, sorry, and the ice. And the loaf comes in handy because I need to reach back for this cabin again because I use my winch. But yeah, I was thinking of, like, for some reason it reminded me of the day more Dave stories, only we were all involved this time. It was me, Dave and Ab there and 2 of our mates. But I was thinking of the time that Dave, I mean it was bound to be Dave, shot me in the nipple. Not with like a proper gun, it was only a pellet gun, like, so thankfully. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've never really had that much use for my nipples anyway, so I don't know, I didn't really need 2 of them. Like, I was born with 2, now I've got 1.9. Circle of life continues. I've still got plenty of nipples left to see me through to old age. In fact, if anything, I could probably afford to gamble with my nipples even more than I already have. If I've made it to 30 and I've still practically got 2 left, then I'm doing alright. See me this time next year. I'll be called Risky Nipples and I'll owe fucking 20 grand to someone called Harryola. Anyway, back to how Dave shot me in the nipple and nearly shot one off. Basically, it was kind of a related story, but I won't make it too complicated. But there was something to do with some kids playing, well, teens playing on a railway line, and apparently police turned up in some little train thing, and they had beanbag guns. So we all got talking about that, and then we were like, we wanted to go paintballing, but we soon decided that we too skint to go paintballing and can't really be arsed driving like 60 miles to the nearest paintballing place. And basically, when my dad died, he had, like, in the garage there was a couple of paintball guns, and there was like a couple of air rifles. They were kind of in bits, but at least one of each probably worked. So we knew we had a paintball gun, and it was like, in the end though, it's like, even if it did work, we've got no paintballs, and the gas canister is 99.9% likely going to be empty, because this was like 5 years after, so yeah, it was probably going to be empty. But then we all had the brainwave, was like, we've all got air rifles though, haven't we? And then we were thinking, yep, we've all got one. One of our mates didn't have one, but the other mate had more than one, so he lent him one. And yeah, so we headed back to this field, and yeah, not to, like, basically we heard about the police with beanbag guns. I suppose at one point we went to this field in the hope that maybe the police would turn up and fire beanbag guns at us as we all run off into this wheat field. If I'm honest, that was probably the plan, but that didn't happen. So the next day, next week, whatever, this is where we got round to the whole paintballing thing. So we took air rifles down to this field. It was like a, I believe it was wheat technically, but just imagine like some cornfield type thing with, like, it's about as tall as your chest. So yeah, I don't recommend it or anything. Like, don't try this at home unless you've got an air rifle and a wheat field in your back garden. Then it's probably the most convenient place to try it, to be honest. But yeah, if you're an adult, do what the hell you want. I'm not your parent. If you're a kid, my genuine advice would be wait until you're an adult to make stupid decisions. You've got a lot of life ahead of you. And yeah, I've seen a lot of people say it won't happen to them, and it did. But anyway, like, I didn't need goggles. None of us needed goggles, because we all made an agreement beforehand not to look at the pellets during flight. So, you know, we're not an idiot. So yeah, didn't need them. And basically, we're just like, every man for himself, and we'll just run around this wheat field, and we'll try and shoot each other with air rifles. And in England, I think most air rifles, I can't remember what the, it's like PSI or bar or whatever, it's either 8 or 12, I can't remember, but most air rifles are set to around that. I believe most of ours were, except one of our mates had, like, he was into his air, he's the one who lent our other mate an air rifle, and the air rifle he had was about wound up to like 22 PSI or bar, whichever one it is, I can't remember. That one was a bit of a lethal one, so all of us are really like, yeah, just make sure you avoid him. And we all agreed though as well, no like close shots or anything, like there's got to be a good little bit of distance between you. And that was about it. We just ran around a field shooting each other with air rifles. And the cool thing, well, I know this sounds stupid, and it is stupid, I wouldn't recommend it, but it was pretty cool how, I mean, because it was like chest high, we'd kind of run along the field, and then somebody'd see you and start aiming at you, and then you'd kind of duck back down into the field, and then basically as everybody shot at you, you'd kind of hear how you see in the films where you hear the bullets going through the grass, and you could just hear like flying past you really quick, like where it was hitting all the like blades of grass and wheat or whatever, and flying past you. And every now and then you got like a little tap on the arm or whatever, but pretty rare, to be honest. Like, I got hit about 3 times. Yeah, and then one time, I mean, of course, again, it had to be bloody Dave, but I ran along, dived back in the grass, and he must have had to reload and all sorts, but he must have remembered where I'd roughly dived in the grass, and I was just, like, say, sitting down, not really looking over in their direction, because, again, like, agreed not to look at the pellets during flight, and then, yeah, all I heard was basically that noise again of, like, flying through the grass. And then I sort of looked around a bit, and it's like, I thought, bloody hell, my nipple's a bit warm. And I looked down, and there was a bit of blood on my shirt, and it's like, oh no, nipple down. So, yeah, it basically shot me right in the tit, like, nailed it. I mean, it was pretty much, yeah, direct hit. And like I said, it was bleeding. I'm not like, oh, I've been shot. It's only a pellet gun, like, and it didn't even, I mean, it broke the skin, it was bleeding for a bit, but it, yeah, it didn't stay in there or anything. My tit managed to repel it. I mean, it's alright for women with their goddamn level 1 rated tit armour bras, but I had to hack it. I just had a shirt for protection, and yeah, it didn't do a lot. I mean, I was looking earlier, to be honest, it's there is kind of a scar, but to be honest, it's it's like you wouldn't even know if you didn't know. But believe me, at the time I knew. One nipple was definitely hotter than the other one that day. And yeah, bloody Dave, shot me in the tit, and that was pretty much about it. I mean, we carried on shooting each other. I nailed my other brother Adam, like, in the head, in the side of the head. I seen him running along, and I was pretty damn happy with myself. Like, my air rifle wasn't that strong. Mine was a gas-powered one, not one that you kind of, like, snap the barrel in half and, like, pump it right down and sort of, yeah, pressurise it that way. Mine had those little gas canisters. So for the first X amount of shots, it was alright, but then obviously as the canister started to empty, it'd tail off a bit. But yeah, I seen my brother Adam start running sideways about, I don't know, probably 50 odd metres away. And I aimed it just in front and above his head. And I fired. I mean, he was running sideways, so in my defence, there's no eyes on the side of his head, so he'd be fine. But yeah, I shot just as he kind of went to dive in the back down below the grass, and didn't even know that obviously afterwards when we're all comparing notes, like who got shot where, and you could definitely work out when Scott, the guy who had the bloody strong gun, you could see where, like, even on your jeans and that, if it hit, like, I got hit on the leg, and a couple of us got hit like on the back and arm and that, but yeah, they were the stubby, blunt pellets, and like I said, they're only pellet guns. Actually, like one up from a cap gun. And yeah, after we're comparing notes, Adam said, yeah, someone shot him right in the side of the head. And as soon as he said it, I was like, it was me. I remember, it was a beauty. I was well happy with myself. So yeah, that's what happened. So back to the P16. I'm going for this cliff crossing. You see the rear tyres though, they start to slide round, and it's like, right now, I do definitely like this little cliff crossing, because it's obviously been made specifically to be like, is it going to go or isn't it? It definitely makes you hold your breath, gets your heart rate going up a little bit. I reckon if you could put a heart monitor thing on, I reckon you'd notice a few more beats per minute, especially when you haven't got chain tyres. And I mean, yeah, we're off. P16 in the loaf. So, last little bit is just messing around with, like I said, I wanted to test the physics. Obviously, if you've seen, I can't even remember anymore, to be honest. I lose track of the days at the minute. I seesawed a bit of cargo or something in the air, and I said I was going to come back and try loaf among other things. But beyond that, like I said, I was trying to test the physics between, because basically it doesn't lock cargo in place as easily as it does vehicles, and personally I wish vehicles, if anything, got the same treatment as the cargo. That was like a test run. I purposely flew off to the right. I was just checking that I was nicely lined up. Sending in the loaf. Gonna go for a test flight. I mean, yeah, as you can see from various bits of cargo that I've managed to launch in the air one way or another. I mean, look at him. It's a goddamn horse of a vehicle. Genuinely just first time. I don't ever need to go back and be like, oh, I best recover it and bring it again. And it's just every goddamn time, man. Yeah, but sometimes when you launch cargo, like I've lost cargo before. A tree made me lose cargo a long while ago. That's why I really don't like trees. So I've been even in the score. But when my cargo rolled, it was an oversized cargo, so it was like one of them big cargo containers. It rolled sideways, and honestly, it was like that sad violin song was needed as it just slowly rolled down this hill further and further, and every second it was like, yep, that's another 15 minutes, that's another 15 minutes. And it just carried on rolling down the hill, whereas obviously vehicles lock in place a bit too easily, I think. And at first, I kind of understood the reasoning behind it, like, to say stop your vehicles rolling away, but to be honest, I get caught out more when you say switch back to a vehicle or you try and winch a vehicle and it suddenly releases those physics and it ends up pulling you off the side of a hill and all sorts. So I'd rather it just behave like cargo. But anyway, got it all lined up, got the loaf on there. Went for my first go, but I missed. Like, god damn it, I tried to recover pretty damn quick because I don't want to knock it. But also, this is like another handy thing that I learned and tested that I'll show you in a minute. Eventually, after I did it, I was quickly saving the footage and then closing the game and reloading it, and it'd be back to just before I hit it, so I didn't have to keep setting it up every time. Nailed it then, was pretty happy. The loaf started to get some good air, but as you can see, this is the problem with launching vehicles, and I've not tried seesawing a vehicle before, but I've found a way, I'll show you in another video, to launch. Theoretically, I reckon I could launch a vehicle from the top of the cliffs to that island over there, and if I launched it with a roof rack, it could fix itself when it's there. And that's like my way I found was my original way to explore the island, but the physics just kept getting locked in the air when I was launching the vehicle. And yeah, that's it. I mean, as you can see, my other bits of cargo have got some pretty good height to them, but the loaf, like, it was how close my like the dolphin was. So once I got far enough away, yeah, it just locked this in place, and that was it. So I thought I'll try again. I mean, he didn't have his cargo helmet on, so we had to try. If you're gonna go to space, you got to take your helmet. You've all heard the Mars story. If you have, it'll make sense. So I missed the first time. Again, recovered pretty damn quick because, yeah, if I knock it over, there's a chance I might have to spend the next 10 minutes trying to put it all back together. Flying off, looking good. Oh no, nailed it. You see, right, this is at this point, this is exactly what I did. I saved the footage now, so you're just going to see it skip ahead a little bit. But I closed application. Don't quit to main menu, otherwise it'll just save as it's quitting to main menu. Yeah, it didn't say saving at the time, so I quickly held the PS4 button, closed application, reloaded the game, and when it loaded back up, because it hadn't saved again yet, I'm now, as you can see, it just loaded me back up to where I was already on my way to do the jump. I just looked, loaf was there, and this is set back up. And that was a bad flight. Bail out, mission abort. But at least I was able to do it in time before I knocked everything over. I mean, got it quite nicely there. This is what I mean though. Like, that was partly to test the difference. Loaf stopped straight away. That is the cargo container, so it did like an arch through the air. It wasn't the fastest launch. I didn't hit the perfect spot on the semi-trailer. I mean, the loaf is a goddamn professional. That's why you get yourself a loaf. Both times, dropped out the sky, landed on his wheels, and it's all good. And at this point now, what I'm literally doing, because I decided that just quitting the game and restarting it is quicker than trying to put the sideboard trailer back. Another reason I have been testing this was because I was also testing the cranes, which even the big cranes are playing up. Not quite as bad as the little cranes, but they're definitely worse than they was. Like, I tested them a few weeks ago as well, and then about a month or two ago, so there's definitely something different and wrong with them. But yeah, that's part of the reason why I decided do it at your own risk if you're going to turn the game off and load it back up. It's never done anything. I've done it loads, but I'm just saying, like, I can't account. Everybody has different bugs and that sometimes, so I'm not taking responsibility if you like try and quit the game and load it up and something's missing. But I took the chance. I've done it loads and it's never done anything. Not when it's not when I've like actually quit on purpose. Yeah, nailed that cargo again, using the crane just to look around, because sometimes, especially when you're in the water, like, it's a bit annoying that you can't move the camera and look up a bit more. So I just extend the crane and you can kind of view around from the top of the crane. As far as I'll know, just nailed half my aviation fuel business. So yeah, again, quit the game, loaded it back up, everything's back where it is. You can see the fuel thing is back up, and you see, this is what I don't get with the cargo physics. Like, that one piece of cargo just went sailing through the air. It went past the fuel thing, which then moved a bit, but then it locked itself back in place. But the thing flying past it didn't, so I don't know, it does seem a little bit more random, the cargo, if I'm honest. Now I just got to the point where I'd been knocking like the Tiger a little bit back, and maybe I had like a bit of a dodgy bounce on there, but I ended up just planting the Tiger, so I moved it forward, launched some cargo pretty well, but again we lost a fuel trailer. But I was pretty happy with the results. Just more learning about the physics. I still wish they'd give me the option, or give all of us the option, to just fully turn off the locking of physics so I can launch a scout vehicle over to that island. But anyway, that's about it for today really. Like I said, more of a chilled video. I'm going to do the club video tomorrow. That's what I've been kind of preparing for. It's kind of why I wanted a bit more of a chilled video tonight, so I can get finished a bit earlier. And yeah, get ready for sorting that out tomorrow, the flat face club. So anyway, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.